Elias was hunched over the hull of a mining drone, muttering under his breath about how, even in the middle of nowhere, someone always found a way to ruin perfectly good metal. Sparks danced across his gloves, painting his face in orange streaks that made him look like a half-baked superhero. He yanked a fuse from the control panel and flung it onto the floor, where it rolled under a crate as if it were trying to escape the day along with him. Why do they make these things so complicated? He asked no one in particular. The drone, predictably, didn't answer. It beeped in what could only be described as mechanical disappointment. Then came the crash. It wasn't a subtle thing, no polite landing with a courteous shudder, but a full-blown, physics-defying explosion that sent a plume of smoke and fire spiraling into the crimson sky. Elias nearly lost his balance and swore in 4 languages, none of which were particularly polite. He grabbed his toolkit and scrambled toward the canyon rim where the fireball had settled, muttering theories about meteor strikes, rogue drones, or a disgruntled trader's attempt at cosmic fireworks. The ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. Angular but fluid, its hull shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the dying light in ripples of violet and silver. Panels and circuits glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. And there, sitting amidst the wreckage with an air of perfect calm, or perfect amusement, was a girl. Long ears curved back from her head, tapering to elegant points, twitching occasionally as if she were listening to sounds humans couldn't hear. Her amber eyes caught the light in a way that made Elias blink and wonder if his retinas were broken. She leaned against a fractured wing of her vessel and gave him a small, crooked smile. "Hello, human. You do know this is technically trespassing, yes?" Elias coughed. "I was, well, inspecting, safety inspection, yeah." He gestured vaguely at the smoking crater around her ship. "Professional courtesy." She chuckled, a sound like wind chimes tangled in silk. "Professional, huh? I'd have guessed amateur curiosity, but you seem helpful in a very stubborn human way." The human blinked. "Helpful, sure, that's me. Stubborn, absolutely. I'm practically certified." He extended a hand as if they had just met at a cocktail party, which was absurd considering there was still smoke coming out of her wing. She regarded his hand like it might explode if touched, then shook it anyway. Her grip was firm but graceful, and he felt a strange zing, like static electricity combined with a polite warning. "I'm Lyra," she said, straightening though her posture remained casual. "And you are?" Elias Trent. I fix things. Broken things, mostly. Not sure I'm licensed for crashed alien vessels, but I'll give it a shot." He waved his wrench with a flourish, nearly smacking himself in the jaw. Lyra's laugh was low and musical, and for a moment he imagined it might be dangerous to let her see him like this, clumsy, dusty, and mostly panicking. "I think your definition of a shot may need clarification," she said, tilting her head. Her ears twitched, and the motion had a faint, hypnotic grace that made Elias almost forget he was staring at what was literally a live alien spaceship. "Still, if you help me, I may offer something in return. A gift, perhaps, something significant." "Gift?" He paused, wiping sweat and soot from his brow. "I just fix things. Last time I got a gift from fixing anything, it was a bag of peanuts from a trader who thought I invented a self-cleaning spanner." He frowned, and that was disappointing. Lyra tilted her head further, clearly amused. "Your humor is curious. Humans are amusing in small doses. Shall we begin?" He swallowed hard. "Yeah, begin, sure. You might want to warn me if there are like death lasers or plasma fields or, oh, never mind, I'll find out soon enough." He crouched, starting to examine a panel that gleamed like liquid crystal, tracing his gloved fingers along circuits that seemed to hum under his touch. Every connection felt alive, responsive in a way that made his usual mechanical tricks seem clumsy. Lyra hovered near him, occasionally pointing with delicate fingers at components that defied human naming conventions. "No, not there. That interface responds to thought patterns. Touching it directly could be uncomfortable." "Uncomfortable like a stubbed toe, or uncomfortable like spontaneous combustion? Elias asked. Closer to the latter but less messy, she replied, her tone laced with amusement. You humans do love to dramatize. Hours passed in a rhythm of sparks, laughter, and mutual exasperation. Elias cursed the universe in multiple languages while Lyra corrected him gently, smirking when he accidentally rerouted power in ways that caused the ship to hum a little tune. The ship had a sense of humor, it seemed, or maybe it was just mocking him. He muttered about needing hazard pay for dealing with self-aware metal. She laughed again, saying that humans were always the most entertaining of engineers. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias stepped back to admire their progress. The vessel had lost some of its battle scars, panels now glinting in orderly perfection. Lyra's amber eyes reflected both pride and something that resembled gratitude, though she didn't say it outright. Tomorrow we continue, she said, but you've done well today, human. Elias wiped his hands and let out a groan. Well, if this is doing well, I might be worried about my definition of success. Also, I think I've temporarily offended at least 3 alien safety protocols. Lyra's laugh floated across the canyon, mingling with the wind. Offending protocols is part of the fun. Don't worry, Elias, this is just the beginning. And for the first time in a long while, he felt like his ordinary, dusty life might be about to turn spectacularly, irreversibly strange. Elias woke to a strange vibration under his feet, which he quickly realized wasn't the floor settling. It was the ship. Lyra, perched gracefully on a nearby panel like she owned the entire wreckage, tilted her head and gave him that same mischievous look he'd come to fear. Good morning, human. You slept unusually well, considering you're practically lying on the remains of an alien warp drive. He groaned and rubbed his eyes. Warp drive, right, because that's what every mechanic wants to wake up to. Coffee first, existential danger second, got it. Lyra floated down, moving with the fluidity of a liquid shadow. No coffee in your system today, yet still sarcastic. Remarkable. Shall we continue? Do we have to? My body says maybe, my pride says absolutely, Elias muttered, grabbing his toolkit. He approached the ship's inner interface, and the panels flickered as if greeting him personally, humming in a sequence that resembled a language he couldn't translate. Every wire and pulse seemed alive, responding to touch, but also to thought, or maybe to his general aura of confusion. Lyra guided him through the first segment of repair, demonstrating interfaces that obeyed mental commands. Focus on the core nodes. Imagine them like stubborn cats. They do what they want unless you negotiate. Elias raised an eyebrow. Negotiate with cats. Right. Why didn't I just stay in a coal mine where things only explode if I drop them? You humans have a strange sense of humor. It is endearing, Lyra said, smirking. Then she sighed, which sounded like a tiny wind storm. If you keep laughing at everything, you might accidentally reroute the gravity stabilizers. He stared at a panel that looked like liquid silver. Gravity stabilizers, what's next? Sentient toilets. They exist, Lyra replied calmly, as though that were the most mundane statement. They tend to criticize your posture. Elias rubbed his temples. Perfect, just what I needed. Alien judgment and a sentient bathroom. Hours stretched like taffy as they worked side by side. Elias grew familiar with the ship's idiosyncrasies. Its hums, its slight shifts in color when excited or annoyed, its way of pulsing faster whenever he made an incorrect mental command. Lyra seemed entirely at ease, almost playful, guiding him with subtle gestures and patient corrections. At one point, she leaned over him, brushing a strand of his messy hair aside and said, "You handle human machinery well. Alien machinery, less predictably." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Elias muttered. "I live for cryptic encouragement." When the core finally powered up, a low harmonic vibration filled the canyon. Elias jumped back as lights traced patterns over the walls, almost like the ship was dancing. "Did we just—" he began. "Yes," Lyra said, floating above him with a proud tilt of her head. We just convinced a sentient vessel to cooperate. That's impressive for a human. I almost wish you weren't so amusing. It distracts from your skill. Elias grinned, wiping sweat and soot from his face. I work best when I'm entertaining. It's my secret weapon. As the day turned to night, they paused. Lyra showed him an alien star map projected from the ship's core. It wasn't just a navigation tool. It was alive, shifting and folding space in patterns that Elias instinctively recognized, yet couldn't articulate. "It's beautiful," he said, tracing a finger along a glowing path that represented a network of wormholes. "But terrifying. I mean, I can barely navigate a dirt road on my home planet." "Terrifying is relative," Lyra replied, watching him with a faint smile. "The universe is flexible depending on who you trust, and I trust you not entirely but enough." Elias laughed nervously. "Trust me. I can't even keep a fusion drill from overheating half the time." She leaned closer, her ears twitching, and said lightly, "It is not perfection I require. Imperfect humans make the universe interesting." Their work continued into the early hours, punctuated by awkward jokes, failed experiments with floating panels, and Elia's endless commentary about how alien machinery seemed to have a sense of humor designed specifically to annoy him. Lyra occasionally joined in with witty remarks in a language he didn't understand, though her tone conveyed amusement rather than scolding. By the time the core was fully integrated, Elias felt a strange satisfaction. Exhaustion mixed with exhilaration, the thrill of solving puzzles that defied human logic, and the joy of shared humor with a being entirely unlike him. Lyra tapped a final panel, and the ship responded with a series of lights that resembled laughter itself. "You have a gift for chaos," Lyra said, her amber eyes glinting in the light. "But you also have patience. That combination is rare." "Gift for chaos, patience. Sounds like I could work in a circus," Elias said, brushing soot from his shirt. "Or on a spaceship. Either way I'll survive, right?" "You may," Lyra said. "Or you may discover that survival is only the beginning. Tomorrow we tackle the propulsion system. It has opinions and it may not like yours." Elias groaned but smiled. Somehow, amidst alien technology, long ears twitching with curiosity, and sentient machines that seemed to enjoy tormenting him, he felt more alive than he had in years. And as he lay down on a cot in the makeshift repair bay, he caught Lyra watching the stars through a viewport, her long ears catching starlight like delicate antennas. He couldn't imagine a more extraordinary life, chaotic, humorous, and impossibly strange. But for the first time he wanted it all. Elias woke to the soft hum of the fully repaired ship. The panels glowed gently, pulsing in rhythm with the faint vibration under his feet. He stretched and nearly tripped over a tangle of wires, muttering something about alien safety regulations being more like suggestions than rules. Lyra was already at the core interface, her long ears twitching as she adjusted a sequence of controls with effortless precision. "Ready to finally leave this canyon and test whether my vessel can actually fly without exploding?" she asked, her tone lightly teasing, though there was a glint of anticipation in her amber eyes. "Exploding is kind of my specialty, but I think we can aim for controlled flight," Elias replied, grabbing his tools and brushing off dust. "At least mostly controlled." Lyra floated beside him. "Mostly is an acceptable starting point." She glanced at him, clearly amused. "I suppose I should tell you that the gift I promised isn't something trivial. It's unusual, but it will change your life." Elias froze mid-step. "Change my life how? Should I be worried? Will I suddenly grow wings or—" "You already have your own wings," Lyra said dryly, nodding at the sweat-stained human grin. "Of ingenuity and stubbornness." He snorted. "I'll take that barely. What is it then? Knowledge, power, free space, coffee." "Something more," she replied, guiding him to a console that extended a shimmering holographic grid. "Place your hands here. Focus." He did, though he wasn't sure what he was focusing on. The grid pulsed, shifting beneath his palms, and then a warm sensation spread through his chest, like static electricity mixed with sunlight. Suddenly, images flashed in his mind. Star systems he'd never seen, coordinates for routes through wormholes that bent space like water, alien languages that he somehow understood, patterns of energy and matter in ways that defied conventional physics. He gasped and jerked his hands back. "It's okay," Lyra said softly. "You can't process it all at once. The connection is gradual, but you will see things differently now. You will understand what you couldn't before. The universe will answer you in subtle ways if you are attentive." Elias laughed nervously. "So, I'm like a space clairvoyant now. Should I start charging for consultations?" Lyra's laughter rang out like delicate bells. "You will learn to navigate it naturally. Humor is a good companion, human. Do not lose it." For the next hours, Elias experimented with the gift. He touched panels and felt the ship respond before his fingers moved, sensed shifts in energy flows, predicted minor malfunctions before they occurred. He realized he could anticipate the hum of distant stars, the pull of hidden gravities, even the patterns of alien trade ships in orbit. Every step of understanding brought small bursts of amusement and wonder, though also confusion when he inadvertently solved a problem before he even noticed it existed. "See," Lyra said, hovering beside him, "you are learning faster than expected. I may have underestimated human adaptability and stubbornness." "Underestimate human stubbornness?" Elias asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's like underestimating gravity. You just don't do it." They laughed together, a warm sound echoing through the repair bay, and for a moment, the vastness of the canyon, the alien ship, and the stars beyond felt intimate and small, shared between two beings who had found trust in the strangest of circumstances. Finally, the ship's engines hummed to life, responding to Elia's thoughts and commands as if it were an extension of his own body. Lyra guided him through a test flight, and he marveled as the vessel lifted, hovered, and then accelerated smoothly into the night sky. Stars streaked past, the distant moons of the colony glowing like lanterns. He realized he had grown, not just skilled but patient, confident, and connected to a universe he had only glimpsed before. He was no longer just a mechanic, he was an explorer of impossible systems, a human who had glimpsed the thread of the cosmos. Lyra turned to him as the ship glided through the dark. "You have changed," she said simply. "You will face challenges, of course, but you will meet them differently now. You understand potential in ways you did not before." "I think," Elias said slowly, watching a wormhole swirl ahead, "I understand that sometimes fixing a ship is more than fixing a ship. Sometimes it fixes everything else too." She smiled, and for the first time he noticed the way her ears caught starlight like delicate antennas. "Perhaps that is why I offered the gift, to see how a human could grow when given a glimpse